Hi, this is Derek. So today we're going to talk about how to actually launch your book to #1 bestseller. And this is something I've been experimenting with for a long time. I said earlier, my first book, I worked really hard to get it to #1. And now I try to do the bare minimum. So part of that is at the beginning, when you don't have a platform, you have to work harder, and income shouldn't really be your #1 goal. So it's nice to hit #1 and be a #1 bestseller, but that doesn't really mean you're going to earn money. And you don't want to have to keep working really hard every time you launch your book. You want it to get easier and easier. So I invested a lot of time and money in building my platform before I launched my first book, so that when the book was ready, I could do better. And over the last couple of years, I've continued to do that with every book launch. So I'll talk about some things like doing free giveaways or 99-cent promos, or scheduling advertisements, but you don't need to keep doing that stuff every time you launch your book. Your first book is probably going to be more of work, and you're needing to be building your tribe and your audience. The more books you publish, it should be getting easier. If it's not getting easier, you're not building your platform. So I talked also earlier about 95% of book marketing happens before you publish your book. That's because if you focus on building a platform and building the organic traffic and visibility and packaging and positioning your book, we talked about publishing in the last video. If you publish the right way and you have a book that's going to actually attract your audience, then when you finish it, it should be easier to sell. And it does, like, it's hard in the beginning, but once you've been doing it for a while, it gets easier. So in this video, I'm going to go through a very quick book launch timeline and roadmap. Someone commented on my other video, when are you going to tell us the specific stuff you need to do? Like, I need a step-by-step plan. So this is it. Keep in mind also, I have lots of other videos. I'm going to mention some stuff that you probably haven't heard about before, so you might want to take notes. But I have other videos that are an hour long or 2 hours long, where I talk about the specific steps of each of the things that I'm going to talk about today in a lot more detail. So a lot of those videos are free. They're on YouTube and on some of my other websites or platforms. I'll try to leave some links so you can ask me more questions if you have questions about any of these things. But in this video, I'm just going to try to go through a quick, I think it's like a 10-step basically of how to launch a #1 bestseller. So the first thing you want to do is finish the book. A lot of people, myself included, you get really excited about publishing when you get close to finishing your book and you start hiring book marketing and promotions and everything, cover design. There are some things it's advantageous to do early. I always like to have my book cover first, because then I can start sharing it or posting images or even just testing out whether people like the cover and whether the cover is right for my project. I also put a lot of stuff up on pre-order early, which I'll talk about in a little while. But one mistake you really want to avoid is thinking you're done with the book and putting it up on pre-order or putting it up to publish the first time, scheduling all your book promotions, and then finding out actually there's a lot of mistakes. Maybe it needs more revision, more editing. You don't want it, like, you want to launch quickly and you want to get it out there. You shouldn't worry about perfectionism. But once you put it out there, if there's a lot of typos or mistakes or people don't like it yet and you get negative reviews, that's going to hurt you. And you could, re-edit and scrap that whole project and publish again later under a different title or a different cover. You can do that, but you want to try to avoid those negative reviews. It's okay if you publish early and you get some negative reviews that says this needs more editing. That's important to know, and that happens. But ideally, you want to try to avoid those. So if you can, at least get a proofreader or someone to read through it. Or, like, I usually send out ARC copies, which is advanced reader copies, a few weeks early to try to get some people reading through it who can help you to at least look for typos or grammar mistakes or punctuation, because that's the kind of stuff, it's not the end of the world, but it will distract readers. If you have enough of those and they distract readers enough, they won't finish reading the book and they'll probably feel like this book wasn't very professional, it had too many mistakes. If you have an amazing story, especially for fiction, or if your content is great, a few mistakes won't really matter that much, so it's really not the end of the world. But if you have too many, it is a problem. So, and like I said, if you publish it and there's mistakes, even if you revise and edit it and upload a new version, which is what I usually do, I'm not that picky with, if I have a couple reviews that say this needs more editing, I can just upload a new version and say this book has now been edited, and then people will ignore those reviews. But you don't want too many, and it can really kill your book launch. If you try to, like, if you're spending a lot on advertising or promotion, and the first couple reviews you get are negative reviews about the editing, that can be a problem. So the first thing is to finish the book, get editing, revise it, go through and revise it a few times. I try to now finish first rough draft and give myself about a month to go through and edit it. I'm more of an editor than I am a drafter, so I know that editing is my strength, and I can finish, editing a full-length book pretty well and go through it several times in a month. That also gives me about a month to schedule promos and to start building anticipation for the book before I launch. You probably want to put the book up on pre-order about 3 months in advance. So what I would do if this is your first book is probably finish a clean rough draft, get to the end, and then schedule the pre-order for about 3 months in advance. So you have time to plan everything. That's not necessary, especially if you're writing a shorter nonfiction book. You don't really need 3 months to clean it up and to edit it. But you do want it to be the best it can be. I have a different course that's going to be all about writing nonfiction and fiction that readers love, and it's really going to focus more on the craft of book writing. So that's kind of, and I'm actually going to revise the Guerrilla Publishing program so that the first month we're just focused on the product. So it's just going to be about those things, about, you finish the book before you launch. How do you make sure it's the right kind of book that's actually going to satisfy readers? Because it is really important to get that right. Then we'll talk about publishing, and then we'll launch to number one. So this video is kind of the third step in that process, which is launching to number one bestseller. So let's say you've finished the book and you've edited it, it's clean. The next step we talked about before actually was book design, book formatting, getting it published, putting it up on Amazon. But that can even just be for the pre-order privilege. So let's say you're scheduling your book launch. And there's two kind of ways to do it. You can either just put it up on pre-order for a month out, and then you start building anticipation and you start sending people to the pre-order page, because that means it's really up for sale. So you could be talking about the book and trying to get people to go buy the book. The advantage is, rather than trying to squeeze all your sales during your launch week, or the first couple days of your launch, you're trying to schedule all your promos and everything for a short period of time. If you put a book up on pre-order, you can schedule that stuff over a month, over 2 or 3 months, and you can slowly be selling a lot of books, so that when the book launches, it's got more going for it. It's already got the ball rolling, so it's easier to have a stronger launch because you've already got some sales. Also because it's been out for a while, you've collected some readers that maybe you didn't really have to work for and you wouldn't have got otherwise, just because they saw the book and found the book. I would comment though, it's harder to sell the book that's on pre-order because you don't have reviews on it yet, so it's always going to be a harder sale. So I wouldn't really drive a lot of traffic or advertisements to a book on pre-order yet, just because it's not going to convert that well without book reviews. There is actually a way around that. You can upload the paperback book also early and approve it so it's on Amazon, and then upload a new version, a new file, and don't approve the file, which means it will have been on Amazon, but it's no longer on Amazon. Nothing disappears. Once you publish a paperback book, it never disappears on Amazon, because people can republish your old copies. And that's something you see, you shouldn't really be worried about, but people will immediately start, as soon as you publish a book, people will start offering your book all over the place, and they're just trying to sell it at a higher price. And then if anyone buys it, you'll see it on eBay or something. If anybody buys it, they'll go back to Amazon or CreateSpace and they'll buy a copy for less. So that's not something to worry about. The reason it can work though is if you publish a book and make it unavailable on Amazon, because your paperback is linked to your ebook, you can get people to go and review the paperback, and it will show up on your ebook that's on pre-order. So that way you can have reviews on your pre-order ebook even before it's published, which could boost the conversion. So you don't have to put a book up on pre-order. The disadvantage of pre-order is that on Amazon, your sales will be spread out. So it's really good because you'll be getting some organic sales, hopefully, over a long period of time, which will help boost your also bots. So your also bots are really important. On Amazon, those are the other books that show up that are similar to your books. And you want them to be books that, if readers enjoy these books, they're also going to be enjoying your book. And you want to have relevant books there. If you do certain kinds of promotions, free books or 99-cent campaigns, or recently I did a Goodreads giveaway, and it really screwed up my also bots, because Amazon has basically one account that they use for all the giveaways. So they buy 100 copies of all these random books. So all my also bots were all these random books that weren't attractive to the same audience, which is bad for visibility. So that's actually a mistake that I wouldn't do again. And that can happen if you do a big 99-cent campaign. You'll attract freebie seekers or discount seekers who aren't your ideal audience. What you really want is to use very targeted advertising or promotion, so you're only putting the book in front of real readers who also read in your genre, so that your also bots are really clean. This is why you don't want to promote to your friends and family and say, hey, I have a new book, buy my book, because your friends and family aren't your right readers. They're not probably natural readers who enjoy that genre, that book. They might buy it to support you, but that can actually hurt if it screws up your also bots. So it's not really what you want to do. What you want to do is focus on getting the right readers to read your book. And there are basically 3 ways that we can do that. So I'm going to talk about those 3 ways. So selling a book on Amazon is basically about visibility and conversion, which means first you need to get people to see your book or your Amazon page, and then they have to buy it. And that's 3 things. It's your book cover, it's your description, and it's the number of reviews that you have. You want to get 10 or 20 reviews before you really market your book. And that can be difficult. So reviews are a sticking point. I know people who have had their book out for 1 or 2 years and they still don't have 10 or 20 reviews, and they ask why their book isn't selling. So you do need to do that. It's important. So I'll talk more about how to get reviews later, but the main first strategy I use, because even though there's these 3 things that boost conversion, even though you really have to get those right, the conversion part, the other thing you can do, which is kind of the 4th thing, is build your own platform or your own email list so that you have time to get people to know and like and trust you. Because if you've warmed them up and they're anticipating the book a little bit, then it's easier to get the conversion. It's also much easier to get the book reviews, which is a critical step. So the way I did that, and this is the first big tip that I used, one of the first main strategies I used to launch and market books, is book giveaways. I have lots of other videos talking about this, like an hour-long video. I also have a book giveaway tool on Bookfetti that you can have access to if you're in the Guerrilla Publishing program. But the basic idea is nobody really wants your book. If they don't know who you are and your book, maybe it's your first book, you didn't do everything right, it's not that attractive yet, it's really hard even to give your book away for free. And even if they sign up to get your book for free, they're probably not going to be fans, they're probably not going to support you with book reviews. So you want to do book giveaways, which just means I can set up a package of free books from famous best-selling authors that readers are already going to want. My ideal readers are already going to want these books. So I might do something like I'll look for the 5 best new releases that are launching in the same month that I'm launching. I made a video recently about book launch dates. Sometimes it can be helpful to launch on the same day as another big book that's similar to yours, that already has an audience, because if a lot of people are buying that book on one day and they also buy your book on the same day because you're launching, you can have a really strong also bought relationship with that other book. So that can be something you want to try to do. I'm not going to talk more about that right now, but the idea of a book giveaway is that I can set up something with King Sumo or with Bookfetti. I can advertise specifically to like readers who like Stephen King, win these 5 Stephen King novels as like a package, and they can sign up, and then they will get more entries if they share and get their friends to sign up, which gives it a little bit of a viral component. And also, at least on King Sumo now, after they sign up, they can win even more entries if they follow you on social media. So giveaways can be a really good way to get people on your email list, and then do a bonus giveaway or offer something else to also get them to follow you on social media. So if you do a few giveaways leading up to your launch, you can be building a targeted email list. And like I said, you're not advertising this to everybody. You're trying to put it in front of the right readers with Facebook ads, or by getting to promote it in relevant Facebook groups or online forums or whatever, where only your ideal readers are going to see it. They might sign up to win the free stuff that already appeals to them, and then you have an opportunity to try to build a relationship. They haven't signed up to hear from you or support you, so you can't assume that they're fans or that they want your free book. You still have to be nice and careful about it. But generally, if you already know they're your right readers and you say, hey, I wrote this book, I would love, I have 100 ARC copies. ARC is advanced reader copy. So you're basically trying to build a list of readers who you already know should like your kind of book, and you offer them a free copy, hopefully so they'll review it. You can't give a book in exchange for a review, and you don't want them to post on Amazon, I got this book in exchange for a review. Those reviews will usually be deleted these days. And Amazon will also delete reviews that you have any relationship with the reviewer. So even if they're on your email list or they're following you on social media, that can be a little suspect, and you have to be careful. But it's still better to do it and to try to build an audience. You don't really have to hide or manipulate, but you do want to use the clean Amazon link that ends after the ASIN number, the ASIN number, because otherwise there's tracking information. If you're sending that to reviewers and then they use it to go back to the book and review it, Amazon will delete those because they see that you're sending those people there. And they've recently, Amazon has overstepped. They're trying to sort out the scammer problems and the problems with fake reviews by building robots who look for fraudulent activity. And recently they've overstepped and they've started penalizing a lot of authors who aren't doing anything wrong. But you can't be too worried about, like, you want to do everything right and stay within the rules, but you can't be too worried about Amazon overreach. They're always going to be trying to clean up their platform. It's still your responsibility as an author to try to get those book reviews. So that's the first main one, is setting up book giveaways to build an email list so that you can start sending out ARC copies. I use BookFunnel, which is, you can just set, like, you can put up your book on your website and give them a download link. The benefit of BookFunnel is that it helps you to keep track. You can set a limit of how many books people are able to be downloaded, and it also makes it a lot easier to set up like a PDF and an EPUB and a MOBI file, and it gives directions for readers on how to open it and read those files and put them on their devices, which means you don't have to like email each reader one by one and explain how they can use the file, which is kind of a pain in the ass. So I think that's a valuable service. That's what I use for my ARC copies. It just makes it easier. You do want to give out a lot of ARC copies. I tend to give out like 100. The less people care about you or trust you, for your first book especially, if they're strangers, it's going to be hard to get people even to say yes to a free book. You still have to sell it. Even if it's a free book, it still needs a great cover. Hopefully it has a couple of short reviews from other people, and hopefully it has a really killer blurb or description already, because you still need to kind of make them want the book, even if it's for free. But then I'll give out like 500 free copies to try to get some people to actually finish reading it, maybe like 100 people to actually read it, and 10 or 20 people to actually review it. So you have to like think big numbers, because your conversion is going to be low, especially for your first book. Once you've published a few books and you have readers who have read your books and like your books, then it's much easier. What I did recently, I have pretty big email lists now, but rather than giving out 500 ARC copies, now I can just give out less copies. And I set up a Facebook group. I'm not going to talk about Facebook groups or pages in this video, but generally, okay, a little bit. Facebook groups get better engagement. So they really are better because more people will see your content. However, with Facebook pages, you can advertise and you can boost posts, but you get less natural organic engagement. So you really want both. I've set mine up to be genre specific rather than author specific. So it's not like a Derek Murphy fan page. It's a young adult books fan page. That makes it easier for more people to get into the group or to want into the group. And I can also try to make it more engaging by sharing a lot of young adult genre specific content and not just like book promotion stuff. Especially in the beginning, nobody cares about you, they don't care about your book. You're just trying to get them, like, first you have to get in front of them and you have to get them to give a shit, because you're posting great content that's interesting and giving away a lot of free stuff. The first step, even after you build an email list, is just to get them to read your book. Even if they've downloaded your book, you can't assume they've read your book. So you still have to be building the relationship and asking and checking in and seeing, did you read the book? Something I'm gonna do soon is I'll set up a giveaway to get them on the list, and I'll set up a bonus giveaway that's kind of like a quiz to encourage readers to read the book. So they have to actually answer the questions based on the book to win, you know, a cash prize or something. I said earlier cash prizes are not great, but once they're on my list and they're already fans, that are already targeted readers, maybe they've downloaded books but they haven't read it yet, I could use something like a bonus just to try to get them to read the books. Hopefully then they become real fans. And I have like a giveaways list of people who have just signed up who I know are young adult fans, and then I have a fans list of people I know who have read my book. So at the end of my books, I have a link back to that smaller list where they can sign up. So I separate my list that way. And like I said, I also now have a street team. I've never really liked that term before. I don't really like to use that. But the advantage is if you have a smaller private Facebook group that's only for actual fans who are more likely to support you. And with a Facebook group, I can set questions. So I can say, you know, which is my favorite book? What other books are you reading right now? And if you get my books for free, are you likely to post a review during launch week? So I can kind of set a little bit of an expectation. I've been writing fiction for a couple of years. I have some fans who have read 4 or 5 of my novels now, and they're actual fans. So I'm able to do that. If I was just starting off with my first book, I wouldn't really waste time. It's kind of important to set up a Facebook page so you can do Facebook advertising, which is really important. but I wouldn't really waste time trying to get engagement on a Facebook group because it's not going to convert very well. For my first book, I would focus on my email list and advertising. So those three things I talked about earlier, the first one is your email list, which I do with book giveaways and to a limited extent Facebook advertising to get that book giveaway in front of the right readers. So there's two other things that I'm going to talk about that's still on the kind of like book promotion, book launch list that work really well. The first is paid advertising, and there's two types of paid advertising. You can use Facebook or Amazon ads. Those are the best types of paid advertising. They both take some work to figure out. Amazon ads, it's harder to get them to spend your money, but it's great because they're on Amazon already looking for books. So if you can get your book to show up on Amazon, that's a great point to get your book in front of them. But you have to figure out how to make more than you spend, which is tricky. With Facebook ads, it's very easy to get Facebook ads to take all your money, but you can spend a lot of money quickly if you're not getting the conversion. So it's easy to spend money and not earn the money back if you're not careful. So you want to start small and test a lot. It is kind of hard to figure out. That may not be what I really try to do with my first book. If you only have one book out, I think it's harder to make a profit. It's much easier to make a profit with paid advertising if you have a series out, and you can spend more money and still earn a return, because if you can sell your first book but people buy all the rest of the books in series, it's easier to make a profit. So that's a little risky. It may not be what I focus on for my first book or first book launch. What does work, or what has worked in the past, are book promo sites that have specific email lists. So they have email lists for science fiction or fantasy or nonfiction or self-help or spirituality. So if you find the right kind of site and you pay to access their email list, they'll send out an email blast to their audience. You do want to make sure you get a specific platform that has a list of targeted readers. You don't want to have there's a lot of companies that offer like a blast, like a 1 million person email blast or a Twitter blast. That won't really help because that's not a targeted audience. That's kind of just everybody, and you don't want everybody seeing your book. You don't want to pay for 100 views. You want to pay for like 50,000 or 100,000 views that are likely readers who enjoy your type of book. If you're doing one of those promos, you probably need to set your book to 99 cents or to free, because if you're paying to access somebody else's platform, you're advertising to reach new readers, you want as much conversion as possible. So having a 99-cent promo or a free promo will get more of those people to take a chance on your book. So especially for the first book, I think free promos are probably the way to go, because you want to reach the maximum number of people for the least amount of spend. So if you pay to access a list of 50,000 and they do one email, I would rather get 1,000 free readers than 100 people to buy the book and read it, because if you get 1,000 free readers, you might get 20 to 50 reviews if it's amazing. Probably not, but you might be able to. Or at least maybe get them on your email list at the end of the book if they've read the book and you have a really strong opt-in offer. At the end of your book, you should have something else that's a bonus piece of content. You should also have an author's note, which kind of helps to build a relationship first, and then an extra bonus to get them to sign up to your list. That's really important. We'll talk more about that in other places. But that's kind of the main first one. The two forms of advertising, you can either book promo sites. BookBub is the only really big one that works, but you have to apply for a BookBub deal, which is difficult, and I'm not really going to talk about how to do a BookBub deal in this video, but that's that's the gold standard. That you get great results from BookBub. There's a lot of other sites where you need to kind of book 5 or 10 different promo sites on all the smaller tier 2 book promo sites. But the way to do it is to do ad stacking, where during your launch week, you'll book 2 or 3 different book promo sites every day for the first week of your book launch, so that even if they're not working very well, you might pay to get 10 or 20 sales every day for the first 7 days. And you're basically training Amazon. You want some people, hopefully people who already buy books that are similar to yours, to be buying your book every day for the first 7 days. And you're kind of training Amazon like your book sells 10 or 20 copies a month. Hopefully if you can do that, and you're paying for it in the beginning, so you might be losing money, but hopefully if you can do that, it'll keep selling 10 or 20 books per day after you stop advertising, because Amazon has they kind of get used to, okay, your average sales rank you're selling this many copies per day, your sales rank should be about here. You want to get sticky on Amazon, which means you get to a certain sales rank, you get certain also bots which are relevant to your book, the right kind of audience. You're kind of training Amazon to show your books to the right kind of people. Also, if you're launching your book, I haven't talked about this yet, but people talk about the 60-day cliff or the 30-day cliff. And what that means is when you first launch a book on Amazon, you can also show up in bonus categories like the hot new release categories. But after the first, I think it's, you can have your book on pre-order and still have it in hot new releases for the first 30 days. So generally what happens is after your first 30 days, you've done a big book launch, you've sold a lot of copies with advertising or book promos, and then you've gotten into the hot new release category, so Amazon is promoting you for free organically, and hopefully you can keep that momentum going so that after Amazon stops promoting you organically, you still keep selling. If you didn't build your own audience, that's hard to do. So if you haven't built your own list or your own organic traffic with content on your blog, then if Amazon stops promoting you, you fall off that cliff and you become invisible on Amazon. And that happens to most authors, which is why I focus on building your own platform and your own organic traffic and visibility, which is really important. So like I said, first you need to start building your list with book giveaways. That's number one. Then you need to start booking book promos. I have a big list in the workbook, so make sure you go through the workbook of my top book promotion sites that you can use. You have to schedule those 3 weeks to 6 weeks in advance, so you may want to think about those and book those out early. And for a lot of those, you actually need to have your book up on Amazon first, and for some of those you need 5 or 10 reviews before they'll accept you. So that's something else to keep in mind. Sometimes what I will actually do with my book launch is I will launch it at pre-order. I'll launch it at first at full price at $3.99 or $4.99. I'll sell it to my list, or I'll use the third tactic, which we'll talk about in a minute first, and then I'll wait a month or 2 months to do a 99-cent promo, and that's when I'll book those promo deals, and that's when I'll start doing advertising. So that way I can launch pretty well. Like I said, I already have an audience now, so I can launch well to my own email list without booking any promos, and I'll wait, and then in 6 weeks or in 2 months, I'll do a 99-cent deal and book those other promos. But there's a difference between your very first book launch and once you have a platform, you've been doing this a while, the way that you launch books is going to be a little bit different. So this is how I launch books now, because I did a really good job of building my platform. If it's your first book launch, I would probably just book, if you don't have a list, if you can't get any reviews, I would just probably launch your book and schedule free book promos. I would go into Kindle Unlimited for the first 3 months and pick your free days. You're allowed to use 5 free days, and then I would schedule the pre-promotions. You still want to be building your list so that you can get the reviews, so that your book promos will be more successful. You still, even if you're doing a free book giveaway, you don't want to waste your free 5 days and only get a couple thousand downloads. You want to get 5,000 or 10,000 downloads so that you're reaching lots of readers and getting your value back. But I'm going to talk about the third way, which is list trade. So list trade just means making relationships with other authors in my genre, and I'm saying, oh, you have a book promo, you have a new book out, I will promote your new book launch to my email list if you promote my book launch to your email list, and you trade dates. So you're like, I will feature you in my email on this date, and you'll feature my book on this email on this date. So there's 2 important things to keep in mind. First, you need to build relationships and friendships. This is why I really focused on building relationships. When I was new and I didn't have a platform, I built the Young Adult Authors Alliance, and I started reaching out to other young adult authors. Now it's really exciting to see that, in the beginning it was kind of hard to get traction. Now it's a really strong group, and we're starting to attract, before it was mostly self-published indie authors, but it was also a lot of the best-selling young adult indie authors. If you look at the top 100 books on Amazon, probably half of those books are from authors who are in the group. So that's really exciting to see. A lot of us are, not me personally, but a lot of the people in the group are really making significant amounts of money on Amazon. So they really know their shit. They really know what they're doing, which is why we don't do any book promotion in that group. It's all about providing value. So I've had to set the tone of the group and really keep it focused on. You don't want to just allow people to promote the books, because then the group will just fill up with spam and promotion. But you have to set the tone and the ethics and the value of your group. But because I've done that, because I've really focused on sharing whatever value I could and sharing book marketing tips and trying to help other authors in my space, not asking for anything, just really trying to provide value and to help other people, I've been able to build some really good friendships with that group. And like I said, I didn't build that group to sell my books. I built that group to make relationships, and that's got to be your first step, is you're just trying to provide value. That's also why the book giveaways work really well. Circling back to that, I will do something like, I'll read, the 10 bestsellers in my genre, and I'll feature them on my website, and I'll say, these are my top 10 favorite young adult time travel books, or my favorite young adult werewolf vampire books, or whatever. So I feature them, and then I'll do a giveaway where I'll give away those 10 books, and I might tell them about it. I don't necessarily expect them to share, but I might say, hey, I loved your book, I featured it in this page on my website. And then on that website I can also say, like, hey, if you like these, if you want to win all these, I like them so much, I want to give them away to my audience, and I'll give those books away. So what can happen is those authors share the giveaway. So I actually had, for example, I did one with 32 fantasy books, and Lauren Kate, who's the author of Fallen, who's one of kind of my heroes, because she's one of the best-selling young adult books. She's very well known in my genre, and I really like her books. But she shared my giveaway to her social media. So on Facebook and Twitter, she has 500,000 followers. So that was a lot of free visibility for me, which was nice and lucky. I didn't expect that. But the idea was, I'm trying to give away books that readers actually want, but I'm also trying to focus on promoting and sharing other authors who maybe don't have a platform yet, and doing favors for other people, and building my list. Because if I don't have an email list, I can't offer to list trade with other authors. I don't have any value to provide. So I want to focus on building my list, so that if somebody else has a list of 5 or 10,000 people, they'll be willing to promote my book. If I only have a list of 500, they may not want, there won't be any value for them to be featured in my email list. So I really do want to focus on building my email list, not just to launch my book or get book reviews, but also so that I have value to share, so that I have a stronger position and I can help other authors. That way, if I can get my email list up to 10,000, not only is that great for me personally, but I can find 10 other authors who are launching books in the next few months, and I can say, hey, I would love to feature you in my email list when you do your book launch. You can do stuff like, even if you haven't built a relationship yet, you want to join Facebook groups, and there are places where you can look for these list trade opportunities. But even if you just do it yourself, if you see somebody else who's got a new release coming out in the next couple months, you can go through your top 100 books categories on Amazon and see what's up on pre-order. And if you see somebody else who's launching a book on pre-order, you can do a little bit of research. Generally, indie authors or self-publishing authors will be more likely to do this, and also they're more likely to actually have an email list, because the indie authors tend to be better about building their own platforms than traditionally published authors. So you could reach out to those people once you have an email list and say, I saw that you have a book up on pre-order, I would love to share that book with my list of 10,000 readers. Even if you have a list of 1,000 readers, I think at least you should focus on getting up to your first 1,000 readers. And that's kind of what my side course on email list marketing, which is called Reach Your Readers, the goal of that is to get to your first 1,000 subscribers quickly. Even if you have a list of 1,000 subscribers, that's enough to offer and to provide value, but you'll be more successful with list trades if you have a bigger list. So maybe you can't use this in the beginning. Like I said, it's easier to just buy book promotions or buy advertising in the beginning for your first book, but if you've been building relationships and building your email list for a while, now I may not do those book promotion giveaways or book promotion. I may not schedule the advertisements or the book promotions for this book launch. I will basically focus on list trades, which are actually more powerful anyway, because rather than just being like an email blast to a bunch of readers, there's more brand transference, there's more trust factor, because if other authors have their own fan base, their own email list, and they recommend my book, that's going to have more conversion, because it's more of a personal appeal, and they trust that other person. So And same vice versa, because my audience trusts me. So if I recommend a book to them, it's going to be more likely that more people on my list will buy it. Even if you're doing list trades, it's helpful to be doing a 99-cent campaign or 99-cent promo, or a free book campaign. Like I said, also, I used to do free campaigns on every book launch because it was more important to build my audience and get more conversion. Now I probably won't do that anymore. I'll probably do full price launch to my own list, or like at least a pre-order full price for the first couple weeks, and then I might do a 99-cent campaign later, and then I might do a free campaign. If I'm in Kindle Unlimited, I might use my 5 free days at the end of the 3-month period, just to put it out there and get more readers and reach more people. But I don't really need to do that anymore because I can get the book selling strongly at full price. If it's your first book and you don't have a platform, that's probably going to be more difficult to do. So what you don't want to do, and I see a lot of authors do this, is just decide my book has value, I'm going to price it $6.99, I'm going to price it at $4.99 because my book is worth it. If you don't have a platform, you're going to have to spend a lot of work and time and energy just to find that price point, and you're probably going to lose money and you're not going to get the sales. If you're not getting the sales, your book is going to be invisible. You're not going to get the also bots that you need. You're not going to have any organic traffic on Amazon or organic visibility, which means you're going to be spending a lot of money to try to chase this higher price point and losing money because your book just isn't selling, and that's frustrating. You don't really want to do that. So in the beginning, I know a lot of people say don't do free or 99-cent promos because your book is worth more than that, but your book is only worth what you can get people to pay for it. Your book isn't worth more money if you can't get anybody to buy it. If you can't convince anyone to pay $7.99 or $8.99, it's not worth that much money. It doesn't matter how much time or effort you spent writing the book. That's one thing that a lot of authors screw up, is they just assume to decide my book has more value, I'm only going to sell it for this much, and they ignore the fact that giving away free books or doing a 99-cent campaign can be the best way to actually earn money. It's a marketing tactic. It's not that you're giving your book away for cheap or for free. It's that you're decreasing the resistance so you can get more conversion from strangers and get more strangers taking a chance on your book. And that's really important, especially for the first book launch, when you don't have these relationships or you don't have a big marketing budget. A lot of people, they ask, like, I've been doing this for a couple of years, I can't sell any books, I don't have any book reviews, I just, nothing is working, I've wasted money on advertisements. Almost always, if you don't have any book reviews and you're not getting them, almost always I will say, give your book away for free. Set up on perma-free. Perma-free just means you can set it to 99 cents on Amazon and then get other platforms. Don't go into Kindle Unlimited, but put it on Draft Digital so it's on iBooks and Kobo, and then get Amazon to price match it to free. So your book is free on Kindle and iBooks and Kobo. If you can't get anybody to buy it and you can't get any book reviews, then at least you can be giving it away for free for a while. If you give it away for free for 3 or 4 months until you have some book reviews, then you could go back to a priced product. And I actually did this really weird thing where I started by, I would finish the first 5 or 6 chapters. The book I'm launching soon, I published the first 5 chapters a year ago on Amazon and made it perma-free. So in the last year, I've gotten thousands and thousands of downloads for the first 5 chapters, and they were really good first 5 chapters. So it hooked them enough to get into my email list to be updated when the book is available. So now when I launch the book, I already have a pretty big email list of people who have already read the first 5 chapters who want the rest of the book because they really like the first 5 chapters. That's not necessarily something I recommend. That's kind of a weird marketing thing that I did. But the advantage was, for a year, I didn't have to do any marketing or promotion. This was all just organic visibility. People would find that teaser basically on Amazon, they would download it, they would like it, they got introduced to me and my writing, and they signed up on my email list. And they probably read my other books. So I just used it as kind of a free, perma-free book, which is free, massive organic visibility. That's something I recommend you do. You may not need to do it the way that I did it, but if you can't sell any books, or if you don't have any platform, or if you don't have time or money to do any of this stuff, if it all seems overwhelming, you don't have a budget for advertising, you don't want to build an email list or a platform, so you basically want free visibility and free promotion, the best way to do that is to put a book up on perma-free. Finish something, put it out there, leave it. Hopefully it'll attract, like, you may still need to do some promotion. You can put it up on BookFunnel or InstaFreebie and do some, they have cross promotion, so they have like joint author promos where you can sign up in a genre specific or topic specific book promo for your free book. That way you can slowly be building your list for free. But like, if you don't have a budget, you probably can't just sell your book for a high price right away. If you have a big budget and you have a lot of time to just focus on doing everything right, maybe you don't have to do perma-free books, or you don't have to do free campaigns, that's fine. But if you don't have time or money, it's a mistake to resist giving your books away for free. That's kind of my main point, because I do see people who have been doing this for years and still only have 3 or 4 reviews, and they can't sell it at all, but they don't want to give their book away for free. They've never done a book campaign, or they've never done a 99-cent book discount. So they're losing out on the most effective book marketing just because they don't like the idea of giving their books away for free. So I hope I've given you a lot of different ideas and strategies. Like I said, I have other videos that go in a lot more depth about each one of these individual topics. Those were basically the main 3 big things I used for the visibility: the list trades, the book giveaways to build your list, and the book promos or advertisements, which are kind of 2 different things. They're advertisements on Facebook or AMS ads, or promoting through book promotion sites. There's a list of those in the companion workbook, which you should download if you haven't already to make sure you're reading. There's also some very specific book launch roadmaps and timelines in that. The one other thing I wanted to mention that I'm using a lot, and I'm getting kind of more into right now, which I'll mention quickly, is book graphic teasers or promo graphics that you can use leading up to your book launch. So I haven't actually done a lot of these very well. I see other authors doing them much better, but I've been building an online graphic design tool for quite a while. I already have some 3D book tools and some book promotion graphics that lots and lots of authors have been using to promote their books, because it makes it really easy to build these kind of graphics. But the idea is, especially if you have your book up on pre-order, but even if you don't, like, ideally you have your book up on pre-order so that you can talk about your book and share the link and send people to go look at your book and hopefully buy it, without being really promotional or spammy, without being like, buy my book. You can casually mention updates, or you can be sharing teasers. And a teaser is just, for example, you'd have a book graphic, you'd probably have your book cover, or you just have a really nice pretty image, and you'd have a couple sentences of an excerpt from your book. So it'd be like a really powerful passage or quote or sentence from inside your book. And then down at the bottom, you would have your book title, your author name, and you might have something like now available on Amazon or now available for pre-order. So it wouldn't really be a hard sell. You're just sharing information. You're sharing kind of cool content. That stuff is easier to get shared. If it's a great, cool quote that resonates with people, they might share it or retweet it. But even if not, it might build anticipation from the audience, the social media audience that you're also building. And it gets people to kind of want the book. Like, if they read a really powerful quote and you have a really nicely designed graphic with a really great book cover, they'll be like, oh, that sounds awesome. I can't wait till that book is out. Maybe they'll buy it right away, or maybe they'll sign up to your email list. If you don't have your book up on pre-order yet, you could be sending traffic to your email list with like, here's an excerpt from my book. Sign up to my email list if you want a free copy when it's available. There's a really cute cat that just came behind me, so you'll see that in the picture. That's one thing that I'm gonna make it easier to do, because I'm building these graphic tools. And if you're in some of my courses, either the DIY book package, or if you join Guerrilla Publishing, you'll get access to all of the templates, which will make it easier. But I also have a lot of free stuff where you can use tools like Canva or WordSwag to make your own book promo graphics. And the idea is basically go through your book when you're editing, find 20 really powerful short quotes. If you write nonfiction, you should be including quotes from other people, because that way, like, I have a whole other video about nonfiction, but if you write nonfiction, you want to give other people a reason to share it. So if you read a whole bunch of other books and you quote 100 other people in your book, then you can make these quote graphics featuring other people, and then you can share those on social media and tag that other person, and they're going to be much more likely to share or retweet because you're talking about them. And you could also, 3 months or 6 months in advance say, hey, I loved your book so much, is it okay if I use this? You don't necessarily have to ask for permission to use quotes in your book, but if you're using their name for marketing, you probably should. Or ideally, if you could get them to agree to launch your book, if you could say, hey, if they're really famous, I probably wouldn't reach out. They probably don't want to share your book launch. But if you share an image quote on social media that's their words from their book, and all you do, this is where I would be careful about not being promotional with your book. What I would do in this case is put a picture of their book with their quote, with their name, and just that, and share that on social media and tag them. They'll see that, and all you're really doing is like a book review, and you're sharing their thing, but they'll retweet it to their audience, and then on your social media platform, you would have a pin post, or in your biography, you would say author of your book, and here's a link to your Amazon page. So the actual tweet or post or graphic is not at all about your book. It's just about them, which will make it really easy for them to share with their audience, which is what you're really going for. But all those people who see it may also follow you, or they may also see your pin post that's about your book. So it's a side tangent. I talk a lot about if you have nonfiction books, that's a really good idea to include more quotes from other people. And I also haven't done that very well with all of my books, but I will in the future. I'm really focusing now on boosting my organic traffic with Pinterest. So I'm going through all of my, rather than building new content, I'm just going through all my blog posts and I'm adding click to tweet so that more people can share my content easier, and I'm adding image graphics. So every post, I want to take 3 or 4, smart things that I've said in the post, like big important quotes that kind of sum up the whole topic, turn it into a nice image graphic. I actually have a virtual assistant who I'm trying to get to learn how to do the design and do this stuff, and that way I can pin all these nice image graphics, image quotes to Pinterest. I could also be sharing on social media, but for a book launch, I would make like 20 nice looking image graphics with the same brand, the same style, with your book cover and your author and the book name. You don't need to have a link in those graphics, because when you share it on social media or Twitter, they can't really click that image anyway, so you don't really need a link. What you want is, when you have those graphics and you share them on social media, in the post that you make, you have a link to either your email list or your book on pre-order or book on Amazon. And you want to be doing that through your pre-order privilege. So like a month before your book, you want to start sharing those every 2 or 3 days. It's really low-key, passive book marketing. So you're not just saying like, my book is available, go buy my book. You're just building anticipation by sharing great content and great excerpts. So it's important to have awesome quotes and awesome looking quotes that are really well designed, that resonate with your target audience, and also using the keywords or the hashtags that are relevant to your audience. So for example, if I'm like, this summer I'll be relaunching book 2 in my mermaid book. So this summer there's also a Little Mermaid retelling movie that's coming out, and there's also several new mermaid books that are coming out. So I could be, for example, reviewing and sharing and promoting those other mermaid books to my audience, so that those other authors would be sharing my content, and I would also be sharing all my image graphic quotes to build anticipation for book 2 that's coming out. And I might use the hashtags that are being used for that movie. There's always hashtags related to a new movie or a new TV show or something. So that's a way I could be sharing visual content, also putting those on Pinterest, putting those up on Twitter and Facebook, and using hashtags in build up to my actual book launch. When the book is actually launched, then I would start emailing my list, or I put out a few books, a few graphics or quotes, or basically just an announcement saying my book is available, please go read it. This is also when I would start posting early reviews. So if I had my book up on pre-order for a while, if I had sent the book out to ARC reviewers or readers on my email list, and they started posting reviews either on the book on pre-order, or if I asked them to send me early reviews that I could use in promotion, I could make nice graphics and include their review. Not the whole review, but maybe a short snippet or a short 1 sentence, even something super tight, like rather than a full paragraph, if you have something that's a positioning statement. So the best reviews introduce the genre and make a comparison between other things and give the benefits. So for example, something that my book I'm launching now is like a vampire dystopia. So if they say something, if I say this book is Hunger Games meets Twilight, no one's gonna believe it. But if I have a book review saying, not only is this Hunger Games meets Vampire Diaries, but this is also, the best book, the best dystopian book I've read all year, that's a really strong positioning statement that has keywords, that also positions the book to a couple of other books, so it makes it really clear what kind of book it is and very attractive to the readers of those other things. And it also teaches the benefits. So it's not just this is like those other books, but this is a good book. And specifically, not just like, you don't want reviews that like, this is a great book, this kept me up all night reading. You want very specific reviews that are specific on the benefits. Like this was a page turner, kept me up all night reading. Very specific results and benefits from both your fiction and nonfiction book. You don't want to be vague or general, because then it kind of sounds fake, and they're less likely to believe it. It's got to be more personal. The best reviews, actually, I usually find when people just send me an email or they post on social media and they're like, oh my god, this book is amazing, it's so good. Those reviews are better usually than if they go on Amazon and they really think about how to write a book review and they try to do like a book report. Usually those aren't as powerful because they overthought it. So you might want to tell your audience, if you like the ARC copy, maybe you can't review it yet on pre-order, but maybe you can just, write a quick, send me a message on Facebook or Twitter, or post a response on this Twitter page or Twitter feed, Facebook feed thread, that's what you call them. You can have a kind of a space for that, for people to post their ARC or their first response. Like, as soon as you finish your book, please go and leave me your first response right away, because I really want to hear what you thought about it, like before you think too much or before you have time to reflect. I want to know what you think about it. And then you can use some of those responses in your pre-marketing material by turning them into image quotes. You could also put some of those responses in your Amazon description. If you claim the book on Author Central, you can go into the editorial reviews place, which is where you can post like pre-reviews or blurbs before you launch. You're not technically supposed to take Amazon book reviews and put them into your book description on Amazon. A lot of people do that anyway. I think it's technically not okay, but Amazon is not cracking down on it, and there's millions of books. Someday they might start cracking down on that rule, but they aren't right now. So far you can still take, maybe not the whole review, but a short snippet of the review as the teaser or the hook on the top of your sales copy. That can work really well. I don't have time in these videos to talk about how to write a blurb description that converts or how to do that stuff, but I hope I've given you a lot of tips. I do think on top of the visibility, which is the email list building with giveaways, the book promotion through book promos by paying to access other people's lists with book promotion websites like BookBub and all the other ones, and the list trades by building relationships with other authors and trading with other authors who have a platform. Those are all great for visibility, but to use social media well, building image graphics and not being promotional, but sharing good content and nicely designed image graphics as a way to build anticipation and also grow your social media following. Because if you're putting those out every 2 or 3 days, and you're getting people to like or tag or share those because they're great pieces of content, and you're using hashtags to get discovered, that's kind of how you want to use social media to build up to your launch, so that people are seeing it and you're building anticipation. So that's a really big thing that I'll be starting to use more in my book launches, and really doing that well. I haven't always done that in my other previous book launches. So that's kind of like the 4 main things that I will do on all my book launches. And it's only 4 things. So you could ignore 99% of the other crap out there, almost all of the other things that are we will promote your book, we will feature your book to our Amazon. Most of it's bullshit. Don't, if someone reaches out to you or if you find a sponsored post on Facebook and they're advertising to you to feature your book, a lot of that stuff isn't gonna work anyway. So you don't just want to try everything and throw money around. You want to do specific stuff that actually works. You want to be very targeted with who you're promoting your book to and how you're building your audience. And you don't want to be, you definitely have to read my book, Book Marketing is Dead, which is about most authors are doing really spammy stuff that doesn't work. So you don't want to do that stuff. It's attractive to do the easy stuff, and it's sometimes you just feel desperate and you just get on Twitter or Facebook and you just want to be like, please, somebody, my book is available, like, buy my book. You don't want to get desperate because you haven't built a platform and you don't know what you're doing. So you really want to get focused on a few things that work really well and really dive into doing those things the best that you can. In the next video, I'm going to talk a little bit more about advanced stuff or things that I can help you with. I have lots of free tools and resources. Like I said, I've been building tools and templates and resources, not to mention hundreds of hours of free videos on YouTube that walks you through how to do all of this stuff. And I've invested a lot of time and money on building tools and platforms that you can get featured on for free so that you don't waste time and money on all this other stuff that doesn't work. So I hope my resources and my videos have been helpful. Definitely look around. I made this free video series to try to have a quick walkthrough in the same place so that you can get all my best content for free. But I have so much content. People have said recently, like, you have so much content, it's just overwhelming. I don't know where to start, which is why I'm making this free short, even though it's kind of long, as you'll see. I'll leave some links on my other best content where I talk about the specific details in more detail so that you can learn more about this stuff and watch videos on how it actually works, like how to actually set this stuff up. So I hope that stuff is also useful. Almost all my stuff is free. I only really charge if you need personal feedback and help from me, because I don't have time to help everybody. So I hope this video helps. I do have at least one more video, maybe two more videos, talking about some more advanced stuff that you can do after you've launched your book to #1. Oh, the last thing I'll mention really quickly, the only reason to launch #1, doesn't really help sell more books, except when you hit #1, then you can get on social media and Facebook and you can start posting success posts. So you don't really want to post like, please buy my book is discounted. You don't want to be asking for help, but you can, once you hit #1, or even if you get in the top 10 or something, you can take a screenshot and you can post, hey everybody, I'm so excited. I published my first book and I got to #1. Thank you all for your support. That's a much stronger post than something that's asking for support or feedback, because people will see that and they'll be like, wow, this must be a good book. Or if you're thanking the people who helped them, who helped you, they may feel guilty and they may think, oh, that's great. Their book must be pretty good. I feel bad because other people are supporting them and I'm not. So it's a way to get more people to engage, to actually support you and buy the book, by thanking the people who are buying the book, not by asking more people to buy the book. So it's a really simple little hack. That's one of the advantages of getting to #1, so that you can take a screenshot and you can post that on Facebook, and you can share a celebration message and you can say, thanks, I made it to #1, or I'm in the top 10, I'm so close to #1, I'm really excited. Those kind of posts work really well, and they're better than my book is free or discounted, please support me, please help me out. You don't want to be doing that kind of stuff on social media. And also, if you hit #1, if you're in #1 in the category, you can put that, like, you can take a screenshot and you can put that on your author page, on your blog. It's a little bit of branding and social proof when people on your website, just to show like the book. And when I launched, my book was #1 in these 3 categories. It's not the most important thing. It won't lead to long-term sales. You really have to have your cover. Your cover has to be amazing. Your blurb and description has to be amazing. You need at least 10 or 20 reviews. Those are the most important things. And if you don't have those, more visibility is not going to help. So you don't want to schedule and book more visibility or more promotion or more marketing or more advertising if you don't have those 3 critical things first, which is why I really focus hard on the book design and getting your core offer as good as it can be. A lot of authors, they just want the book marketing. They just want book marketing, visibility, promotion steps, and they don't go back to the core offer. They don't fix the core problems. If you have core problems and nobody's buying your book, you don't need more visibility. You don't need more book promotion. You need to fix your core offer. That's something I can really help you with as a book designer and a marketer, and that's one of the biggest benefits working with me directly, is I can really quickly just tell you what's wrong so you can fix it and see more conversion immediately. If you can boost your conversion immediately, then all of your advertising and marketing campaigns are going to be more lucrative, which means you can afford to spend more money reaching more readers because your books are going to be earning more money. So anyway, I'm going to end this video here. It's long. I hope you took notes. Otherwise, maybe watch a couple more times or go through my other resources and materials. I mentioned a lot of this stuff in the free workbook, and I'll leave links down below too on where you can find more information. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.